Hello everyone, very warm welcome all of you to ITLS Academy. Our today's lecture is on mechanism of action of antibiotics. So let's start with mechanism of action of antibiotics. Let's start with introduction. Most of the antibiotics exert a highly selective toxic action upon their target microbial cells but have little or no toxicity towards mammalian cells. They can therefore be administered at concentrations sufficient to kill infecting organism or at least inhibit their growth without damaging mammalian cells. Study of the mechanism of action of the antibiotics reveals the basis of their selective toxicity. Five broad areas of action of antibiotics are cell wall, ribosome, chromosome, folate metabolism, and cell membrane. Here, note that majority of the antibiotics are used for the treatment of bacterial infections. Comparatively, few agents are available for fungal or protozoal infections. The bacterial cell wall. First of all, we will study peptidoglycan biosynthesis and its inhibition. Peptidoglycan is a vital component of virtually all bacterial cell walls. It is a macromolecule composed of sugar chains which are cross-linked by short peptide bridges. It accounts for approximately 50% of the weight of gram-positive bacterial walls, around 30% of mycobacterial cell walls, and between 10 and 20% of the gram-negative envelope. One characteristic feature of peptidoglycan is the occurrence of D-amino acids, particularly D-alanine and D-glutamic acid. These D-stereoisomers of amino acids are not found in proteins. The precise nature of the peptide cross-links varies among organisms, but the essential structure is the same. The peptidoglycan polymer is responsible for both the shape of bacterial cells and their mechanical strength and integrity. If the synthesis of peptidoglycan is blocked selectively by antibiotic action, the bacteria undergo a number of changes in shape and ultimately die following disruption, or we can say lysis of the cells. As we know that mammalian cells do not possess a cell wall and contain No other macromolecular structures resembling peptidoglycan. Consequently, antibiotics, which interfere with peptidoglycan synthesis, generally have excellent selective toxicity since the target is vital to the bacteria but absent from mammalian cells. D-cycloserine. There are three stages of peptidoglycan biosynthesis. The first occurs in the cytoplasm where the precursors are synthesized. In the first phase of peptidoglycan biosynthesis, synthesis of precursors occur. The formation and assembly of a D-alanine dipeptide is the site of action of D-cycloserine. Next point is two molecules of L-alanine are converted to the D forms by an isomer in the bacterial cytoplasm. A ligase that joins the two D-alanines together. Both of these enzymes are inhibited by binding cycloserine, which bears some structural similarities to the D-alanine. Cycloserine binds covalently to the pyridoxal phosphate cofactor of the enzymes, effectively preventing them from forming D-alanyl D-alanine. The D-alanyl D-alanine dipeptide is then coupled to three other amino acids which have been added sequentially to the sugar nucleotide uridine diphosphate TV acetylmuramic acid. The sugar pentapeptide produced is then transferred from the nucleotide to a hydrophobic lipid carrier molecule, that is undecaprenyl phosphate, which is located exclusively in the cytoplasmic membrane. The nucleotide uridine monophosphate remains in the cytoplasm. Another sugar nucleotide precursor, that is UDP F acetyl glucosamine, is also produced in the cytoplasm and donates a molecule of N-acetyl glucosamine to be coupled to the lipid carrier in the membrane, forming a lipid pyrophosphate linked disaccharide pentapeptide. This is the second stage of the biosynthetic pathway in which the disaccharide pentapeptide is transported across the membrane on the lipid carrier to be inserted into the cell wall at a growing point. The The lipid carrier does not leave the cell membrane and is eventually recycled. It loses a single phosphate group while is returning to the cytoplasmic phase of the membrane to collect another disaccharide pentapeptide from the cytoplasm. Next is glycopeptide, vancomycin and teicoplanin. It is in the third and final stage of the pathway, as we know that we are studying synthetic pathway of the peptidoglycan. So two pathways we have already studied in previous slides, and this is the third and final stage of the pathway, that the glycopeptide antibiotics act. Here, the disaccharide pentapeptide is first incorporated into expanding shell wall linked to its lipid carrier. The growing glycan peptide chain is transferred in turn to to each molecule of lipid carrier as it brings its disaccharide pentapeptide precursor across the membrane. Each lipid carrier molecule thus acts in turn to hold the growing linear glycan strand before returning through the membrane to the cytoplasmic phase. Incorporation of each disaccharide polypeptide is catalyzed by a transglycosylase, and this step is effectively blocked by the glycopeptides. These antibiotics bind very tightly by hydrogen bonding to the terminal D-alanine on each pentapeptide, inhibiting extensions of the linear glycan peptide in the shell wall. Vancomycin is thought to bind to the pentapeptides outside the cytoplasmic membrane. Possibly, two vancomycin molecules form a back-to-back dimer which bridges between pentapeptides, preventing further peptidoglycan assembly. 5-lactam antibiotics, that is penicillins, cephalosporins, carbapenems and monobactams. First point is the beta-lactam antibiotics block the final cross-linking stage of the pathway which occurs in the cell wall. Here, the linear glycan strands are cross-linked via their peptide chains to the mature peptidoglycan in the cell wall. The cross-linking is catalyzed by a group of enzymes called transpeptidases. These enzymes are located on the outer face of the cytoplasmic membrane. They first remove the terminal D-alanine residue from each pentapeptide on the linear glycan. This reaction involves breakage of the peptide between the two D-alanine residue on the linear glycan. The energy released is thought to be used in the formation of a new peptide bond between the remaining D-alanine on the glycan chain and an acceptor amino group on existing cross-linked peptidoglycan. In Escherichia coli, this acceptor is free amino group on ratio diaminopymalic acid. In other organisms, for example, Staphylococcus aureus, it is the free amino group on lysine replacing diaminopymalic acid which acts as the receptor. The beta-lactam bond is broken out but the remaining ring system in the beta-lactam is not released. Instead, the transpeptidase remains linked to the hydrolyzed antibiotic with a half-life of 10 to 15 minutes. Whilst bound to the beta-lactam, the transpeptidase cannot participate in further rounds of peptidoglycan cross-linking by reaction with its true substrate. Recognition of the existence of multiple transpeptidase targets and their relative sensitivity towards different beta-lactams helps to explain the different morphological effect observed on treated bacteria. For example, benzylpenicillin or penicillin G, ampicillin and cephalosporin are particularly effective in causing rapid lysis of gram-negative bacteria such as E. coli. These antibiotics act primarily upon PBP1B, the major transpeptidase of the organism. Mycolic acid and arabinogalactans. You can see here mycolic acid and arabinogalactan synthesis in mycobacteria. The cell walls of mycobacteria contains three structures. These structures are peptidoglycan and arabinogalactan polysaccharide and long chain hydroxy fatty acids that we can say mycolic acids which are all covalently linked. Additional non-covalently attached lipid components also found in the wall include glycolipids, various phospholipids and waxes, isoniazid and ethambutol have long been known as specific antimycobacterial agents, but their mechanism of action have only recently become more clearly understood. Isoniazid mycolic acids are produced by a diversion of the normal fatty acid biosynthetic pathway in which short chain, that is of 16 carbon, and long chain, that is of 24 carbon, fatty acids are produced by addition of 7 or 11 malonate extensions unit from malonyl coenzyme A to acetyl coenzyme A. The long chain fatty acids are further extended and condensed to produce the 60 to 70 carbon beta hydroxymycolic acids. We can say that isoniazid itself is a prodrug which is activated inside mycobacteria by a catalase peroxidase enzyme system known as CATG. Next is ethambutol. The antimicrobial action of ethambutol, like that of isoniazid, is specific for mycobacteria, suggesting a target in the unique components of the mycobacterial cell walls. Cells treated with ethambutol accumulate and isoprenoid intermediate, that is decaprenyl arabinose, which is the source of arabinose in the arabinogalactan polymer. Here, this suggests that ethambutol blocks assembly of the arabinogalactan through inhibition of an arabinosyl transferase enzyme. Next is protein synthesis. Process of protein synthesis involving the ribosome mRNA, a series of amino acyl transferred RNA molecule and accessory protein factors involved in initiation, elongation, and termination. As the process is essentially the same in prokaryotic, that is bacterial cells, and eukaryotic cells, that is higher organism and mammalian cells, it is surprising that there are so many selective agents which acts in this particular area of protein synthesis. Bacterial ribosomes are smaller than their mammalian counterparts, as we know that the bacterial ribosomes are of 70 S types, while mammalian ribosomes are of 80 S types. So the ribosomes of bacteria are smaller than mammalian ribosomes. Bacterial ribosomes consist of 130S and 150S subunit. If this is the structure of ribosome, then this will be 30S subunit and this is 50S subunit. Here the S suffix denotes the size, which is derived from the rate of sedimentation in an ultracentrifuge. The 30S subunit comprises a single strand of 16S rRNA and over 20 different proteins which are bound to it. The larger 50S subunit contains two single strands of rRNA, that is 23S and 5S, together with over 30 different proteins. The subunits pack together to form an intact of 70S ribosome. The equivalent subunits for mammalian ribosomes are 40S and 60S, making an 80S ribosome. Some agents exploit subtle differences in structure between the bacterial and mammalian ribosomes. The macrolides, azalides, and chloramphenicol act upon the 50S subunit in bacteria but not the 60 subunits of mammalian cells. By contrast, the tetracyclines derive their selective action through active uptake by microbial cells and exclusion from mammalian cells. Here, this is the slide presenting the process of protein synthesis. You can see here that first of all comes N-formylmethionine, that is F-met RNA, and initiation starts. In the process of initiation, 50S subunits, 50S subunit and 30S subunit bind to the mRNA molecule. After that, this is the tRNA. tRNA comes and bind. After this process, in the process of elongation, another tRNA comes and forms peptide bond. This process continues as amino acids comes and continue the synthesis of protein. In the process of translocation, when elongation completes, the ribosome, the tRNA shifts towards another site, and finally this long chain peptide secreted will be separated from the ribosome. This will be process of termination. In the process of termination, subunits of the ribosome separate and the polypeptide comes outside. Aminoglycoside, aminocy- aminocyclitol antibiotics. Most of the information on the mechanism of action of aminoglycoside aminocyclitol antibiotics comes from studies with streptomycin. One effect of the aminoglycoside aminocyclitol is to interfere with the initiation and assembly of the bacterial ribosome. During assembly of the initiation complex, that is AF, for, for formyl methionine tRNA, that is FMET tRNA, binds initially to the ribosome binding site on the untranslated 5' end of the mRNA together with the 30S ribosomal subunit. Three protein initiation factors, that is IF3, and a molecule of guanosine triphosphate, that is GTP, are involved in the positioning of the FMET tRNA on the AUG start codon of mRNA. Initiation factors are then released from the complex. GTP is hydrolyzed to guanosine diphosphate, that is GDP, and released with initiation factor 2 as the 50S subunit joins the 30S subunit and mRNA to form a functional ribosome. The F-MET tRNA occupies the peptidyl site or P site, leaving a vacant acceptor site or A site to receive the next amino acyl tRNA specified by the next codon on the mRNA. We can say that streptomycin binds tightly to one of the protein components of the 30S subunit. Binding of the antibiotic to the protein, which is receptor for initiation factor 3, prevents initiation and assembly of the ribosome. Streptomycin binding to the 30S subunit also distorts the shape of the A site on the ribosome and interferes with the positioning and amino acyl tRNA molecule during peptide chain elongation. Tetracyclines. The group of antibiotics is actively transported into bacterial cell, possibly as magnesium complex, achieving a 50-fold concentration inside the cells. Mammalian cells do not take up the tetracyclines, and it is the difference in uptake that determines the selective toxicity. Resistance to the tetracycline is usually associated with failure of the active uptake system or with an active efflux pump which removes the drug from the cells before it can interfere with ribosome function. Protein synthesis by both bacterial and mammalian ribosomes is inhibited by tetracyclines in cell-free system. The action is upon the smaller subunit. Binding of just one molecule of tetracycline to the bacterial 30S subunit occurs at a site involving the 3' end of the 16S rRNA. A number of associated ribosomal proteins and magnesium ions. The effect is to block the binding of amino-acyl tRNA to the A site of the ribosome and halt protein synthesis. The normal binding of the amino-acyl tRNA in the A site is affected by chloramphenicol in such a way that the peptidyl transferase cannot form a new peptide bond with the growing peptide chain on the tRNA in the P site. Chloramphenicol. Of the four possible optical isomers of chloramphenicol, only the O3O form is active. This antibiotic selectively inhibits protein synthesis in bacterial ribosome by binding to the 50S subunit in the region of the A site involving the 23S rRNA. The normal binding of amino-acyl tRNA in the A site is affected by chloramphenicol in such a way that peptidyl transferase cannot form a new peptide bond with the growing polypeptide chain on the tRNA in the P site. It does not inhibit 80S ribosome. The 70S subunit ribosome of mammalian mitochondria are sensitive and therefore some inhibition occurs in rapidly growing mammalian cells with high mitochondrial activity. Macrolides and azalides. Erythromycin is a member of the macrolide group of antibiotics. It selectively inhibits protein synthesis in a broad range of bacteria by binding to the 50S subunit. Unlike chloramphenicol, erythromycin blocks translocation. The site at which it binds is close to that of chloramphenicol and involves the 23S rRNA. Resistance to chloramphenicol and erythromycin can occur by methylation of different bases within the same region of the 23S rRNA. The sites are therefore not identical, but binding of one antibiotic prevents binding of the other. The azalides have improved intracellular penetration over the macrolides and are resistant to the metabolic conversion, which reduces the serum half-life of erythromycin. This is the process by which the ribosome, uh, here we are going to discuss the process of translocation. This is the process by which the ribosome moves along the mRNA by one codon after the peptidyl transferase reaction has joined the peptide chain to the amino acyl tRNA in the A site. This was the process of translocation which I forget to discuss. Okay, let's continue. Lincomycin and clindamycin. These agents bind selectively to a region of the 50S ribosomal subunit close to that of chloramphenicol and erythromycin. They block elongation of the peptide chain by inhibition of peptidyl transferase. Fusidic acid. The steroidal antibiotic does not act upon the ribosome itself but upon one of the associated elongation factor, that is EFG. This elongation factor, that is EFG, supplies energy for translocation by hydrolysis of GTP to GDP. Another elongation factor, EFTU, promotes binding of amino acyl tRNA molecule to the A site through binding and hydrolysis of GTP. Both EFG and EFTU have overlapping binding sites on the ribosome. We can say that fusidic acid binds the EFG GDP complex to the ribosome after one round of translocation has taken place. The equivalent elongation factor in mammalian cells, that is EF2, is susceptible to fusidic acid in cell-free systems. Next is mupirocin. The target of mupirocin is one of a group of enzymes which couple amino acids to their respective tRNAs for delivery to the ribosome and incorporation into proteins. Protein synthesis is halted when the ribosome encounters the isoleucine codon through depletion of the pool of isoleucyl tRNA. The particular enzyme inhibited by mucopyrocin or mupirocin is involved in producing isoleucyl tRNA. The basis for the inhibition is a structural similarity between one end of mupirocin molecule and other is isoleucine. So guys, thank you very much for watching this session. In this particular lecture, that is a mechanism of action of antibiotics, we have studied we have studied some of the antibiotics as tetracycline and many other antibiotics, and we have also studied bacterial cell walls and synthesis of peptidoglycan. We have studied protein synthesis process in this particular lecture, and we will continue with another lecture, that is mechanism of action, part of mechanism of action, and we will continue with many other manufacture processes and also the processes involved, that is the chromosome function replication and transcription and folate antagonism and many more topics related to mechanism of action of antibiotics. So guys, stay tuned with ITLS Academy. You can subscribe ITLS Academy on YouTube, and you can also get it on Google Play Store. So thank you very much for watching this session.